platform that actually earned her the prestigious title of a LinkedIn top voice in education in 2020. Elizabeth's impact has no bounds, y'all, and her story is one that inspires us all. Way before this book, Elizabeth was making moves, creating a welcoming environment for all of us today. And so I want to ask you all, thank you so much for joining. But please, in the comments, join me in welcoming our best-selling author, our PowerUp Hero of social justice. Y'all, I want you to cheer on Elizabeth Leiba. Welcome to the show and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate that.
We are so excited you're here. So let's just jump straight into the questioning. I want to ask you, Elizabeth, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what you do for a living.
I work as the Director of Instructional Design and Innovation for Career College. I've been working in higher education for about 20 years or so. I started in admissions. I've worked as faculty. And up until 2020, right during the pandemic, I was still teaching classes while working as a director for my institution. So that's my career basically has been primarily working in higher education.
I love that. And I have to definitely point out the fact that, one of the things that I love about your book, which, by the way, if you all are curious about the book we're talking about, but you haven't actually had a chance to pick up the book, here is the book right here for you. The book is on Amazon. Just type the words, "I'm not yelling." Nobody else has that title. And you will be able to uncover this amazing book, which is A Black Woman's Guide to Navigating the Workplace. And one of the things I wanted to point out for you, Elizabeth, is that for me personally, this book actually felt like it was an education into things that I had been thinking and feeling, but I wasn't being able to say. So I just want to start us off with just talking a little bit about how we are celebrating you as the PowerUp Hero of social justice. Now, I remember hearing, the term social justice warriors, and I think about these heroes showing up and, they have capes and they're just, doing all these amazing things. But, your book came off as sort of like a love letter. It was like this hero who's just there to hug you and just, embrace you and like wipe your tears and then laugh with you at the same time, right? And just crack the jokes, And I feel like this was really a powerful moment for me. So tell me a little bit about how we are celebrating you as a hero of social justice. What does that mean to you?
Wow, being a social justice warrior, I think for me was something that was empowering during 2020 when George Floyd was murdered. I just felt a sense of responsibility. I work in education. People were clutching pearls. It wasn't just the wearing of the pearls. It was like the clutching of the pearls because this is not America. And being someone that's worked primarily in education, I've taught American history. I taught 8th grade American history and been a college professor, taught American literature. I knew for a fact that this is America. It's very much American. I really thought it was my responsibility to talk about it on LinkedIn. I was already on the platform, just networking, not looking for a job. And I really wanted to highlight some of the things that a lot of us were feeling and thinking, that anxiety, everything being in the lockdown, looking at what was going on around the country. And I think a lot of us didn't have the words and we didn't have the space. We weren't able to hold space because we were working from home. So that was really, for me, being a social justice warrior, was me just taking to my computer keyboard and starting to pour out all these feelings that I didn't know where else to put them. And LinkedIn became that place.
For sure. And I have to lean on Michelle here because I think like ultimately we're here again, like you did on LinkedIn, to have a conversation with you and really bring in your community. I feel like you've not only been able to do the work on your end, but you've been able to bring in some really influential people. And so Michelle, do you want to just share a little bit about your connection with Liz?
Yeah, what I loved about Liz when I read her book the first time that I read the book, the thing that instantly drew me in, though, I'm an immigrant and you're an immigrant, and it was that story of coming into the States for the first time, having that experience, going from a Black experience to a very not Black experience. And I'd love to hear some more about, because my interpretation of race in America has always been colored through my experience growing up in Jamaica in a 99% Black country. As an immigrant and as a Black woman in America, how do you think that has your experience outside of this country than inside of this country? How has that impacted how you're able to see and talk about race?
That's a really good question. And I think even when I thought about it when writing the book, I feel as though I always approach it looking from the outside. And that's maybe why I'm able to have the perspective of looking at things and just asking myself, why is this way? And it's the same thing I did when I came to this country. My parents are Jamaican, and I did not understand this whole dynamic of race in America. And I really wanted to empower myself to understand. So I think that really has framed the reason why I don't take things at face value. And I think I do question and I do challenge the way that the system is, because I just know that it's not like that everywhere. Like you said, you have countries in the Caribbean and we're all just a boat stop. And I always try to remind people that anyone in the Western Hemisphere that's of the African diaspora, we all originated in Africa. So if we were dropped off in Brazil, dropped off in Mexico, South America, there are Black folk all throughout the Caribbean, South America, Central America. Actually, the smallest amount of kidnapped Africans were brought to America. So when we think about our experiences, a lot of our experiences vary, but the source is always going to be the same. And I really wanted to understand what that was. Who was I at my core? And I knew that I needed to uncover a lot of that as someone that was now living in America. And it did give me the ability, I think, to look at it as, well, this is not something that has to be this way, because it's not this way in other countries, like in Jamaica, where you get off the plane and every single person is Black. The pilot is Black, the flight crew is Black, the president is Black, the janitor is Black. You always feel safe because everyone looks like you. And that's not the experience here in America. So I really wanted to unravel that and try to understand what it was about the experience as being Black in America that was so different.
Mm-hmm. I think that, as we think about through all the experiences that we've had, Dr. Tammy, I love what you do and the work that you do as a consultant. I'd love to hear more about how you've seen Liz's book really inspire the work that you do and what you've seen in these workplaces that you've been in.
So one of the things is the topics she talks about, like the topics she addresses, about the idea of imposter syndrome, the idea of your hair, all of these things. But the main thing that I found a real connection with was this idea of voice and finding your voice and using your voice. And I remember going to college and code switching and going between, my Black Southern dialect and standard English, and doing that and really trying to navigate that until now. I do Tammy. And so in your book, I'm Not Yelling, you discuss the importance of finding your voice. Can you share a personal experience where finding your voice was a pivotal moment in your life or career?
Absolutely. There are a few that I mentioned in the book. I did have a false arrest when I was a student at University of Florida. I was racially profiled, accused of shoplifting, a $2 pack of batteries. And the store, because I would not sign the no trespass, which is just basically, hey, you stole this, sign this form, you can't come in here again. And I just was like, no, I'm not, because I know I bought it. I can't find my receipt right now, but give me a chance and maybe I can locate it. And they called the police. I had to go to jail, post bond, basically go through the whole process of getting the charges dropped because the receipt was in the bottom of my book bag, and then filing a civil lawsuit against the company, which I won. And I feel like that was the first time I really realized the idea of standing in your space and not allowing people to pressure you into doing something that you don't feel comfortable with, that you know is wrong. So I think that was probably my first experience. And then really being on LinkedIn. I think a lot of us, especially as Black women, we're taught to just keep moving forward. Don't rock the boat, work twice as hard, keep your head down, get your education, especially Caribbean parents. I didn't sacrifice all of this for you to, my mom would come down to school. You got to stop talking in class because, this is a no-go. So we're told to kind of mute and kind of be quiet and just focus on work, school, grades. And I think I took that same philosophy with me going into education. I would be animated with my students in class, but for the most part, I was mostly quiet in, the administrative offices or in leadership meetings. And I started to feel, especially after George Floyd was murdered, that idea of respectability politics, this idea that if you're one of the good ones, you won't be hurt. I already knew that wasn't true because I had been arrested as a 19-year-old as a college student. I even told them, hey, I'm a college student. They were like, great, we're calling the police. So there was definitely a sense, I think, when I first got on LinkedIn of empowerment, because I was not job hunting. I've been at my job for 10 years. And I really felt like people were telling me, don't do it, girl. If you post that kind of stuff, people gonna think you were some kind of radical. And I was like, that's fine. My boss at that time was a Jamaican lady. She didn't care what I did as long as my work got done. So I really did not have any trepidation because I was angry. I really felt as though what was happening was wrong. And people were scared. People were like, hey, it's a pandemic. I can't speak up about this. I can't afford to lose my job. I'm like, hold my beer. You can't afford to lose your job. That's great. We're going to tell these people we're going to snatch edges today. And I just felt like if I'm triggered, everybody's going to be triggered because I'm that, I'm like that teacher where it's like, oh, y'all want to play around? Oh, we're going to play around now because I'm not here for the game. So that was really when I came to LinkedIn, it's like, oh, you don't know about slavery? Let me go ahead and get in my resources and post like 5 different posts about it. It's like, you're not going to play that game with me. And I feel as though that part of finding my voice and amplifying my voice, that was really a big step for me because it helped me to see that your voice, your words are really powerful. You can impact people. You can change yourself. I used to tell people, I even type faster than I used to, because once you are just convinced in your spirit that what you're saying is the truth, there's nothing that anybody can do to dissuade you from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So much power in that, Dr. Tammy, right?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
It brings me into just Leticia. I feel like this is your energy, right? Just like everything that has to do with the power that Liz is projecting and really standing up and having a voice. I feel like you do that in our community because we're both here in Corpus Christi, Texas, and I see you as my motivator. Tell us a little bit about your connection with Liz.
Well, first,
can I just say one thing about Leticia? I loved that the very first thing that I saw in her name was like, here's how you pronounce my name. And it's like written out how you pronounce her name, because otherwise people get it wrong and then they don't apologize when they get it wrong. And then they get it wrong a second time. You're like, you didn't pay attention the first time. So I love that. I loved how you used your voice that way.
Thank you. I received that. But I'm so grateful to be just on this panel with all these beautiful ladies, and this book has just resonated with me. The fact that you can buy the book tactile and you can have it on Audible. You see all my tabs here, right? Elizabeth, you see all my tabs. As a fellow educator, I said, I want to be able to go back and read and reread and highlight. But 3 things that particularly spoke to me was decolonizing my mind. So I'm not from Texas, but I got here as fast as I could. I lived in Germany for 10 years, Ohio for 10, and now Texas for 10. And talking about how do we decolonize our mind at different stages and phases of our lives, but then also how we can be on guard sometimes in different spaces. But then what really took the cake, Elizabeth, let's talk about this. Your book touches on the concept of building your own table. We always see online people having a folding chair and saying, build your own table, right? Can you share a perspective of how this concept applies to education and career advancement? Specifically, I believe it is on page 175 of your book. You talk about the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. Can you carve that out and tell me about that, Elizabeth, please?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I think for a lot of Black women, when I started to do the research, and as I think Lisa had mentioned before we started recording, it really was a love letter to Black women. All the things that were confusing me about being a Black woman working in corporate spaces, working in predominantly white spaces, I really wanted to delve into a lot of that. And one of the things was a lot of people were telling me they never had a mentor. They had not had anyone really advocate for them in predominantly white spaces. And that statistically has been shown and proven that most Black women are most likely to experience racism on the job, be passed over for promotion, not be given projects where their skill sets are amplified. There's just a slew of microaggressions that Black women tend to encounter. And that's, it's compounded by the fact that we don't typically have mentors. Mentor being someone that maybe guides you, gives you advice. The difference with a sponsor is that person is more likely to be in the power position to be able to speak your name in rooms, advocate for you, for promotion, for opportunity. So the mentor, and one of the things that, as I was researching mentorship, because I've never even had a mentor myself, one of the things that I was able to see was that some of the strategies that women that actually met across the platform were telling me was, have a team of mentors. You don't necessarily have to have a mentor. I think Awesomely Lovey said this, everyone's trying to get Oprah for a mentor. That mentor might be someone that is your peer and they just know something that you don't know in their field. For me, one of the things when we talk about building your own table, Madison Butler, she's not young enough to be my daughter, but she's not that much older than my daughter. One of the things that she said was, does this space deserve me? So when you're going into spaces and thinking about, should I stay? Do I need to build my own table? Should I pull up the folding chair? Do I need to take the folding chair and hit somebody over the back with it? What is the whole process with that? Sometimes you have to question, should you even be in that space? And when she said that to me, it kind of that dynamic of student mentor, I feel as though even though she's so much younger than I am, you can always learn, you can always improve, you can always get gems and strategies. And that was one thing I probably repeat that almost every week. Does this space deserve me? And that applies to the workspace. It might be relationships, it might be friendships, making sure that we put worth on ourselves and making sure that we're being really mindful about our mental health, our well-being, our emotional well-being. I think as Black women, we're always told power through. And I think that's a part of authenticity too, being real to yourself. Like, are you gaslighting yourself and saying, oh, so that's not a big deal. Let me just not think about it. And a lot of times we do that because we're also taught, like no one wants to see those tears, just power through, keep going. And a lot of times our parents didn't really know. They probably didn't have, obviously, the college education. Some of them, they didn't necessarily understand or know about mental health. But as we become more aware and educated about the importance of mental health, just ensuring that the spaces that we are in are conducive to where we need to be, both physically, financially, emotionally, mentally, all of that.
One of the things that really just right now you just said it was like saying like, oh, I don't care, oh, it doesn't bother me, when really internally it really bothers you, but you're showing this face like, it's okay, I'm good, but you're not good, and it continues to just perpetuate right inside of you. And when you don't speak it out, and when you don't speak up for yourself, and you're not yelling, you're just advocating for yourself, right? And I want to take this moment to just take a little bit of a break. I know that those of y'all who are fans of the PowerUp Hero Show, we take a break and we have some fun. And so we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to hear more about Elizabeth Leiba and the book, I'm Not Yelling. Stay tuned, y'all. We'll be right back.
Our magic is in our love and tears, our fears and our flyness.
I do my hair toss, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Woo, child, tired of the foolish, gone dust your shoulders off. Keep it moving, yeah, slow. Step into some new kicks, in there, swimwear, going to the pool quick. Come now, come dry your eyes. You know you a star, you can touch the sky. I know that it's hard, but you have to try. If you need advice, let me simplify.
Change the world. We've already started.
You must never be defeated, ever.
I do my hair talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feel?
I am Black and proud.
The future belongs to all of us. Baby, how you feeling?
I'm so excited to welcome you back to the show. For those of y'all who are just tuning in, we are so excited here at the PowerUp Hero Show. We are celebrating Elizabeth Leiba, who is actually the author of an amazing book, a groundbreaking book, a book that has changed my life, has had a huge paradigm shift in the way I show up in the workplace. I'm Not Yelling, a Black woman's guide to navigating the workplace. This remarkable author is here with us today, and we are also joined by an esteemed panel of guests. We're just so excited that Every single one of them is here. And we're going to jump straight back into the conversation with an amazing moment of a celebration. So y'all know how we do here at PowerUp Hero. We do the fast 5-finger favorites. So for those of y'all who love to play along, we're so excited. We want you to be able to share with us your favorites. And so please go ahead and share your favorites as we celebrate Elizabeth Leiba. So Elizabeth, we're asking you today, what is your favorite book?
Oh, wow. That is so hard. I would have to say The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois.
All right. So those of y'all who have not read that book, I actually have not. And so I am going to be adding it to my list of books to read. None of those of you who have read it, please tell us about it.
First black man to graduate from Harvard, member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Yes. So yeah, I love everything that he says about double consciousness and everything that he talks about from a sociological standpoint of the Black experience in America. Written 100 years ago, it could have been written yesterday. So I love that book.
I love it. I will add it and I will read it. I will read it. The next is, what is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is The Matrix.
Oh my goodness. That's
good choice.
Yeah, The Matrix. I often, right before a lot of this stuff happened, and I think for me, the pivotal moment when I finally went ahead and yanked my cord and pulled myself out wasn't even when George Floyd was murdered. It was when that young man was killed. Tyree Nichols was killed by those other 5 Black men that were police officers. And I was just like, okay, that I got to get my mind right, because something is seriously, radically wrong with what's happening in this country. And it really changed, I think, my perspective. So that movie kind of represents for me this idea of, I'm like Neo now. I'm trying to unplug everybody. We need to really wake up to what's happening around us.
Absolutely.
I love it. And so next 5-finger favorites. So excited to ask you, what's your favorite song? What do you like to jam to?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I like so much music. Right now, my favorite song is probably DNA by Kendrick Lamar.
Oh,
okay. Right now, what's your favorite song? Because it changes throughout your life. Yes.
Yeah. Right now, every time I hear that, the royalty in my DNA, everything about us is amazing and great. Our legacy, our beauty, our power. So that song really gets me going, talking about just the genius of who we are innately.
Yes.
And next we have, what is your favorite quote or a phrase that you love to say and just think about that powers you up?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. And I think one of my favorites, thinking about the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington, would be by John Lewis. If you see something, say something, do something. So this idea of not being silent during times where it might be difficult to speak up. We know it can be challenging to speak, but it goes back to the idea of finding our voices and being authentic in our truth. I think if you don't have truth, you don't have anything. Growing up in a Black neighborhood, the biggest thing was if you lie, you'll steal. If you steal, you kill. And I feel as though for me, truth is non-negotiable. It's something that we have to speak our real truth. We have to talk about what is happening. I think this stigma and this shroud of silence around race in this country has really been detrimental for Black folk, like lethally detrimental to the point of it being life-threatening. So we have to talk about this, and we have to be realistic for ourselves about what is actually happening and the intent of what is happening so that we can be mindful about what to do about it.
Wow. And the last part of the Fast 5-finger favorites is our favorite, which is we are celebrating you today as the PowerUp Hero of Social Justice. So if the PowerUp Hero of Social Justice was to throw those covers off in the morning and get up on their perfect day, how would they show up for the day?
Oh, wow. Well, this morning I got up, I checked social media briefly, and I went for a walk. So I usually go for like a 30-minute walk. And I stopped power walking. I just walk and just enjoy nature. I look around. I'm in Maryland, so the seasons are changing. It's starting to get cool. And I just really enjoy. I think one of the things, I'm in therapy. So one of the things I've been working on with my therapist is being in the moment. Like a lot of times when I used to work out, I went to University of Florida, do 2-a-days and go to the gym and go work hardcore because it's like a sports school and everyone's working out. But I think as I'm getting to this stage in life, I'm thinking about just enjoying the moment rather than powering through and trying to, oh, I gotta squat 150 pounds. It's more like, let me have a nice relaxing walk and then just get exercise, hear the birds chirping, look at the scenery around, look at the trees, and really just soak in each moment. So that's how I started my day today.
I love hearing that. Oh my gosh, we're so excited to be celebrating you. And so with that in mind, in terms of really just showing up as like, you know, however you want to show up, right? When we're talking about social justice, we're talking about the work you're doing with being an author, lending your voice to others, because I feel like you're voicing things that other people are not able to communicate. What would you say as the hero? What would you say your superpower is, right? We know Superman, you know, he can fly. We know Wonder Woman can do all the things, right? As a real character in this human existence, what is your superpower?
I would definitely have to say authenticity, the truth, because I think for a lot of Black folk, and it goes back to the comment that Tammy said earlier about the code switching or feeling imposter syndrome, which I call imposter treatment in the book. There's so many different things, our hair, you know, just how we present in the world, that when we think about the reasons why we're not speaking up, a lot of it does have to do with this idea of the stereotypes, the angry Black woman and the strong Black woman and all these different archetypes that are used to really silence us, used to make us feel awkward or bad, or that we're being too pushy or aggressive. And that's why I call the book I'm Not Yelling, because Black women, we tend to, and culturally tend to have a very expressive way of navigating the world. And a lot of times that's not understood. So I think for me, the biggest thing was be yourself, you know, love yourself, honor yourself. We're perfect in every way. There's nothing wrong. We are worthy. We are more than worthy. So every time we step into a space, we should step into that space like we belong there until we don't belong there. I always tell people, whenever I go somewhere, I stop saying, oh my gosh, I'm scared, I'm nervous, that maybe I'm not going to be accepted, because it's like, I didn't just get off the city bus with my house shoes and bonnet and just show up here. Somebody asked me to come here. So with that being the case, I'm going to go in here and boss up. I'm going to be dope like I am, and I'm going to enjoy myself. If they ask me back, great. If they don't, I always look at it too, that if someone doesn't see my greatness, and I think about this in relationships, friendships, work, just anything that I do business-wise, if someone doesn't see my greatness, that's their loss. You know, I'm great, I'm dope on my own. And if people don't want to acknowledge that, or they don't want to see that, and I encourage us as Black women, I think I saw this quote on social media, we got to start asking for more. We got to start saying no to things that don't edify us or don't help us. So we can't help everyone. We got to help ourselves first. That whole idea of putting the mask on ourselves first and really taking care of ourselves. I think that for me has been my superpower, learning to put myself first, being authentic and being true.
Being true and being the queen you are. I know maybe nobody else has seen that shirt, but I saw it earlier backstage. You're definitely representing as a queen today. And I have to tell you, another person who I know shows up as their authentic self is Michelle. And so I just have to cheer on the fact that I know this whole entire space right now, these women who I am surrounded by, I feel like have really been guiding lights. There's been just so many ways, you know, Michelle, your inclusion work has really been pivotal for me. I remember finding you on LinkedIn and like hounding you down. I don't know if I was hounding you, but I was like, you have to come speak. You have to come speak here. And you said yes. And then Dr. Tammy, you know, you're my catalyst. I absolutely love everything that you aspire to. You are my everything. You're all about manifesting more. Leticia Wilson. I mean, honestly, if I need to wake up in the morning, I just get on YouTube and watch a Leticia Wilson video. Let me just say that. But honestly, to tell you that all of y'all are living your authentic lives, I have to point out the fact that it is really about the fact that what you said, Elizabeth, which is that we have to know that we are already great. It doesn't matter what has happened. It doesn't matter what you think is not going to happen or is supposed to happen. In your presence right now, the way you're showing up, you are already great. And I think that's what your book did for me. It showed me that I didn't need to show up as a certain person in a certain space. If that space was not being the space for me, like what was the quote you said, right? that if that space is not for me, like, does it deserve me, right? I love that quote. You know, maybe this space doesn't deserve me anymore. Maybe I'm not feeling this space because it doesn't deserve me anymore. Maybe I've grown it. Sometimes we outgrow the spaces we're in, right?
Right. Absolutely. It's really about making our choices, and our choices, I think, have to reflect our standards. You know, I think that's something that probably our moms taught us and we learned as young children. But as we get older, we start to say, well, I got to compromise. I have to put my needs on the back burner, whether it's in marriage, whether it's with kids, whether it's with job. I have to push through because I need to get to this next level. And it's almost like we're already level. We've leveled up already just by waking up in the morning. Like you said, it's just like we're already worthy. We're already great. So always chasing, I think, something was something I did my entire life. I was always chasing, oh, I got to get another master's degree. Oh, I got to get another promotion. Oh, I need to make more money. And I started to say, you know, this is never going to end if I don't just stop and really appreciate who I am in this moment. And I think sometimes it's not until you go through real trauma or real loss that you start to see there's nothing better than this moment. This moment is everything, not what just happened, not what's about to happen. Like you said, Lisa, we have to sit in the moment and know that this moment is right. So that's what I try to do every moment. Just live it for that moment.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I am going to welcome our guest to give some closing remarks. Michelle, do you want to get us started?
I mean, I just love this conversation. I mean, we haven't even talked about like hair, because that was another thing that was going to come up. But really, I loved what you just said about, you know, striving for that authenticity, because, you know, we enter these spaces that were never built for us and were designed, and people like us weren't even allowed in the room. And so having a space to realize that you don't have to conform to what they would like of you, you can recreate spaces. So more of us need to be in leadership. More of us need to be in positions of power, so we can do that. And that is absolutely why all y'all go out and buy this book, learn how to navigate these spaces with success, and learn how to thrive. So thank you, Liz. Thank you for having this conversation.
Yeah. Love it.
Dr. Tammy, what about you?
Yeah. I you know, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, there's so much, like you said, that we haven't touched on that's in the book. So you've got to get the book. And yes, I said gotta. You gotta get the book. And so, you know, check it out, because, you know, the one thing that I know about navigating the spaces is like you have to show up. And it took me a minute to really just show up as myself. And so I have a quote that I have in my book and that I recite all the time is never negotiate your next. And it's like always going, and, you know, and whatever it is, whatever your goals are, just go for them, just go. And so when I read this book, it was kind of like, yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me. And some of the stories were so similar to mine, and experiences were similar to mine, and why I navigate the world the way I do today. And so I just want to say thank you, Elizabeth, for your words, for your sharing your experiences and being so candid about them, even from the arrest to the things that you experienced, and just your view on imposter's treatment, right? Even that, like all of that really just made me think of things slightly different, and it's going to change the way I navigate the world tomorrow. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. And Leticia.
Dr. Tammy, when you took that deep breath, I just wanted to sigh with you, right? When you talked about the table, building your own table, and it doesn't always have to be somebody that's in your area. That's what this book did for me. Right? Because sometimes we don't have people that are geographically where we are, but we can build that sense of community with each other in the spaces that we do dwell, either digitally or just like we're doing right now. It feels like a sister circle. So I want to say, Elizabeth, thank you for bringing your voice, also letting us know about how we can decolonize our mind. But also what you said earlier about forest bathing was a little convicting, because I am that person that goes to the gym and is like, I need to burn 450 calories. But how do we be present in the moment so we can declutter, so we can show up as our best selves? So Elizabeth, thank you for being our voice. Thank you for empowering us. And I so appreciate you.
Thank you.
Wow.
And thank you, Lisa, for doing this and put this all together.
Yeah, Lisa's the best.
Around the table.
Yes.
In closing, I just want to ask Liz, right? Liz, how can people get in touch with you?
Definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I post like 1 million times a day. Because I'm like, wait a second, I have one more point I need to make. Class not dismissed yet. So I do that, and then obviously, yeah, I'm not done. Who's zipping up their book bag? Put that back. So I'm that teacher, like, I know y'all ain't zipping up your book bag. I'm still talking. Go to the website, lizleiba.com. Go on Amazon, get the book. I have another book coming out in January, which is Protecting My Peace. So I'm literally just wanting everyone to, as we talked about, Leticia said, it's this idea of decolonize our minds, knowing that we're more than worthy, knowing that we're excellent in everything that we do. And sometimes Black excellence gets, I think, weaponized as something like, be excellent. And sometimes I just want to be average. I just want to be dope, but I don't want to have to go the extra mile. I'm just already excellent. I don't have to keep doing all these things, these gymnastics to show my excellence. So that's really, primarily what I think about when I'm thinking about how to show up and why to show up and to keep showing up in the ways that feel good for us.
Yes. For those of y'all who are tuning in, I'm sure you got something out of this, because not only was I taking notes, I was just trying to figure out, like, I am transcribing this and putting it somewhere so I remember to come back. There were so many nuggets in this, and there were so many opportunities for me to dig even deeper and learn more about my authentic self. So, Elizabeth, we're so excited to be here. I'm going to move you. I have the power to move you to the middle. So we're going to surround you now in a circle of greatness, because you are our PowerUp hero of social justice. We're so excited to be celebrating you, and your superpower is authenticity. Absolutely love hearing that. It just speaks so loudly for me. And I have to say, I feel like also another power of yours is communication. You have such a way with your words and the way that you put things together and into context. It just makes sense. So I want to congratulate you and thank you for the work that you're doing and living your heroic life.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this. This has been like the highlight of my week, and the week just getting started. So I'm already crowning this the highlight of my week. That's it. Done.
Monday motivation. Let's get it.
That's it.
All right.
This is it. This is the highlight.
It is. For those of y'all who are inspired, you were motivated. Maybe this was your highlight too. The week's just started, so you know it's going to be a good week. Please go ahead and share in the comments what you have enjoyed about the show, what your key takeaways were, and when you're reading the book, or whether if you've read the book, please share in the comments what your most impactful moment of the book was. We definitely want to edify Elizabeth and make sure she sees and hears how much her voice is needed. It's necessary for this moment in time. And we want to uplift all the amazing work that Elizabeth is doing in this moment that we are blessed to live with her. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. Y'all gonna make me cry.
Yeah, and thank you all the guests who joined me on here, my friends. Thank you so much for coming on here, because I know I couldn't have done this alone. So I thank you for being here and holding space with me and Elizabeth. I appreciate you. We'll see y'all next time. All right, y'all. So excited that I was joined here by some amazing guests. If you want to find out more about the guests we had on our show today, please visit our website, which is poweruphero.org. So excited to let you all know that we have some amazing guests that you can also listen to on that show. That, once again, that link is poweruphero.org. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're watching this show or listening to it. We are here to give you amazing inspiration. We hope that you are educated. We hope you are inspired. And we hope that you are encouraged to be a PowerUp hero in your life, because our world needs more heroes today more than ever before. I wish you the most amazing motivational Monday, and I hope that you make today a powered up day. Have a great day, y'all.